sitting on the edge of her desk and leaning in close. She tried to ignore the clean and manly aroma of his aftershave. In that case, I would say you have more time and energy than you really need. You might want to channel them elsewhere. She watched as his mouth, more specifically, his sinfully sculpted lips bordered by a neatly trimmed mustache and beard, eased into a grin. The grin showed his dimple again. She let out a slow breath. If she thought his smile was sexy, then his grin was guaranteed to take a woman's breath away.
I've been trying to channel them elsewhere for about a month now,
he said, in a way that told her he still wasn't getting her message.
From the moment I first laid eyes on you, I decided to channel all my thoughts, my time, and my energy solely on you.
Sherri could only stare at him and wonder if he ever ran out of pickup lines. Reluctantly, she would even admit he was good at delivering them. It was a good thing that, thanks to Ben Greenfield, she was immune. Don't waste your time, Terrence. He shook his head and chuckled. And just like the smile and grin before them, the chuckle was explosive. She could feel goosebumps forming on her arm.
It will be time worth wasting, he said,
leaning in closer. She wished she could tell him that she was technically the boss of the radio station and that he was an employee, but she knew that wouldn't work. Terrence and the station's owner, Warwick Fields, were good friends, and Terrence's contract stipulated he reported only to Warwick. Everyone's job was to keep the Holy Terror happy, especially since his show received high ratings each week and pulled in huge sponsorships. There was even talk of the show going into syndication next year. It didn't help matters that Warwick Fields was her mother's twin brother. He had taken her complaints about Terrence with a grain of salt, which proved in this case blood wasn't thicker than water. Uncle Warwick actually thought Terrence's innocent flirtation was amusing.
I can see your mind is busy at work, Terrence said, interrupting her thoughts. I appreciate a woman who enjoys mulling over things, but now it's you who's wasting time. You can't deny this chemistry between us.
No, she couldn't deny it, nor would she act on it. I hate to rush you off, Terrence, but as you can see, I have plenty to do. He glanced at her desk.
I'm going to have to talk to Warwick about that. He shouldn't work you so hard. You should have playtime.
She rolled her eyes and imagined just what kind of playtime he was talking about. I don't need you to run interference for me. I can hold my own, thank you.
If you're sure,
he said, smiling and getting to his feet. I'm positive.
Then I'll let you get back to work.
Sherri let out a relieved breath when he turned and headed toward the door. Just her luck. He stopped before walking over the threshold and turned back around. When he caught her gaze, she felt the thud deep in her chest at the same time a heated sensation traveled down her spine. He stood there in her doorway, all 6'3" of him, and she could only stare at the well-built body, and his dark eyes were focused right on her.
I won't give up, Sherri. I think you know that,
he said in a determined tone. Not intimidating, not threatening, just promising and unwavering. Yes, she did know that, and the thought that one day he just might succeed made her pulse pound. But she would continue to resist him since getting involved in a relationship was the last thing on her mind. Building a career at the station was her top priority. She made no response to what he'd said. He really didn't give her a chance, since he then turned and walked out the door, closing it behind him. Only then did she lean back in her chair and breathe. His masculine scent lingered in her office, and she reached out and touched the spot on her desk where he'd sat. It was hot. The man was so hot-blooded he was capable of leaving heat behind. He was determined to make trouble, and she was just as determined not to let him. She had a job to do. Uncle Warwick was thinking about retiring in another year, and he wanted her to be ready to take over as station manager when he did so. She would prove to her uncle that his faith in her was not a mistake, and that she would be more than capable of managing the day-to-day operations of WLCK. Although it seemed the Holy Terror was not going to make her job easy, there was no way she would let him get in the way of her achieving her goal. She stood and walked to the window and looked out. Key West was a beautiful seaport.